Hey there everyone, how are you guys doing today? Welcome to another video here on MobileCupOfJoe. Now in this video today, I'm going to give you my full review of the Sony Xperia Z2 Tablet on Verizon Wireless. So the Xperia Z2 Tablet is currently one of the hottest products on Verizon Wireless's lineup, be that smartphone or tablet, whatever. This is one of the biggest products Verizon is pushing right now, and I gotta say, I am pretty damn impressed with this tablet. I've had it for a couple of solid weeks now. Been using it as much as I possibly could, and to kind of make things short and kind of give you an idea what this review is going to be about, I gotta say, this is one of the best tablets I have ever had the pleasure of reviewing here on MobileCupOfJoe. So what makes this tablet so great? Let's go ahead and find out right now in my full review, which is going to start right now. But guys, before we go any further, please go ahead and grab that coffee cup, fill it up, bring it over, and sit on down. Take a swig from your Mobile Cup of Joe. Alright, so to kick off this review, I'm going to be touching on some design and build quality aspects of the tablet. And the first thing I want to touch on is what really surprised me the most, you could probably tell if you watch my unboxing video for the tablet, is how incredibly light and thin this thing is. You can see right here, it is just 6.4 millimeters thin, and it comes in at 15.49 ounces. You can kind of see right here too, this is the OnePlus One, and just kind of a comparison of how thin this device really is. Here's the Z2 tablet, and here is the OnePlus One. The Z2 tablet is probably the thinnest tablet, well, at least one of the thinnest tablets I have ever had. And you'd think a big tablet like this, 10-inch display, would make it pretty hefty, but you would be wrong there, because at 15.49 ounces, this thing is as lightweight as they come. What's also really nice is that you have this very nice textured back, which is this kind of soft touch plastic, which I really do like, because I know that Sony has been kind of toying around for a while now with a dual glass on the front and the back. I'm really not a fan of that though, because I don't like glass on the back of my smartphone, so I really do like that Sony used a plastic one here. It's very comfortable in the hand. The plastic has a nice feel to it, and you still have that great glass front right there that looks beautiful, and that screen is on. We'll get into that a bit later. But again, it's kind of, I know I'm talking about this a lot, but I really want to stress just how thin this thing is, you can see there, and how light, and it's very comfortable to hold. So in just a day-to-day use, holding it around, watching movies and stuff, it really gets some high points right there. Now another great thing about the build quality for this tablet is it's waterproof. So you can take this thing and you can splash some water on it, you can do the dishes, you can pick it up with your hands from the sink water, and you can take it by the pool side. This thing is perfectly fine. I took this when I was reviewing it, I put it under the faucet and I just let it sit there. I kind of moved it around a bit under a pretty good high pressured sink faucet, and it was perfectly fine. One thing you do have to make sure though is that you have a flap right here up top for your micro SD card and your SIM card. You want to make sure those are closed before you take it underwater or anything, because if those are open and you have access to that SIM card and your SD card, bad things are going to happen. But if you just make sure those are closed, this thing can go pretty much anywhere with you. And for a 10-inch tablet, you know, you might not be taking it everywhere to the beach or whatnot, but if for some reason you want to catch up on your house of cards while you're laying out by the beach towards the end of the summer, having that waterproofness on there really does help the durability for the tablet. Now another really strong point for the Xperia Z2 tablet, as you can kind of see right here, is that display. This is a 10-inch display with a 1920 by 1200 HD TFT display, and it really looks downright fantastic. You can see here, when I tilt the device, there are no issues with viewing angles whatsoever. And I'm really pointing this out too because with Sony's past devices such as the Xperia Z1S, the Xperia Z1, and some of their older tablets, they had major issues with both their phones and tablets in regards to viewing angles on the screen. For example, I've got the Sony Xperia Z1S right now that I'm just testing out for a little bit, and the viewing angles on the thing are downright horrible. You tilt the device just the slightest degree and it washes out, it gets too bright, and it's really painful to look at. I was really surprised with this tablet though. Sony must be using some kind of new panel with their Triluminos technology and their Bravia technology here with the screen too, because it looks amazing. The text is incredibly crisp, colors are extremely bright, and again you can see here I'm tilting the device and we're not getting any issues with viewing angles. I will say they're not the best viewing angles you're going to get on a tablet, but it is a tremendous improvement from what we saw in previous Sony devices. And even at that, even this is a 720p display, just having such an improvement for the viewing angles really does make this up, and then you factor in the 1920 by 1200 resolution, and you're looking at one of the best displays I have seen on a 10-inch tablet in quite some time. Now, in regards to your processing power here on the Xperia Z2 Tablet, you're rocking a quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 unit clocked at 2.3 GHz. There is the Adreno 330 GPU and 3 GB of RAM. So all that amounts to and what that translates to is basically this is a very future-proof device that will have more than enough processing speeds for even the most hardcore user. When I use my devices, I really like to load them up with lots of applications running in the background. I'll be streaming video, the next second I'll be on Facebook, the next typing out an email to a public relations representative at Verizon or AT&T, whatever it may be. I do a lot on my tablets, so having the additional gigabyte of RAM, while it may not seem like a lot on paper, it really does translate to a great performance in multitasking. With a whole gigabyte of random access memory here, or RAM, fun little fact right there for you, it really is a tremendous improvement on here. Especially as we are progressing through the years, we're seeing more intensive and graphically intensive, or even processor intensive features here on these devices. Having a 3 gigs of RAM in the 801 is essentially future-proofing your device, a term a lot of people use. So a couple years, this tablet should be a very comparable package in regards to its processing speeds. So from the casual user to the hardcore user, you should have plenty of power here on the Xperia Z2 Tablet for whatever you may need it for. Now, another great aspect for the Sony Xperia Z2 Tablet is that you've got a 6,000 milliamp hour battery unit packed into this device. Now, it is not removable, which I know a lot of you do like to have, but there really shouldn't be much of a concern with this device, because for about a week time that I had with it, I used it for a couple days really hard, and I was putting a lot of applications on it, running a lot of games, streaming HD video, but then for a couple days I just kind of threw it on my desk and let it be for a couple days, and didn't really do much. Maybe picked it up for a day to browse Twitter or something for a few minutes, but really not much use at all. And with that kind of usage, I was able to get a surprising week roughly out of use. If you're using the same moderately throughout the week, you'll probably get 3 or 4 days out of here, because that battery is big enough and really is solid to where you can have great performance out of here. Now, if you're going to be using it consistently and you're going to be using it as hard as you can, you're probably going to get about 2 days out of here. Don't expect a week of constant use on this device. But if you're in a scenario like I did where I used it for a couple days pretty moderately, maybe close to lightly heavy usage to heavy moderate usage, if that makes any sense at all, and there's a few days where you just kind of throw it aside and maybe pick it up once or twice just to hop on Facebook or something. If you're like me and you use that kind of same scenario, you can probably get a week out of here, if not 5 or 6 days. So again, consistent usage, probably 2 days, but moderate throughout the week. You can probably get through a solid week with this tablet. Now, what's also cool is that you do have Verizon's 4G LTE data connectivity here, since it is on Verizon Wireless, obviously. And with that awesome battery life on here, you can easily take this thing outside with you to the beach or to the mall or something, and still not have to worry about if you're gonna have to come home and charge it. But going more onto that Verizon connectivity, with tablets on Verizon, we a lot of the times, most of the times, if not all the times, see it with 4G LTE data speeds. And that is great, but for people like me that live in a rural area, while we do get 4G speeds, a lot of the times we are limited to 3G speeds. However, with a lot of Verizon's tablets, they can only access the 4G LTE data bands. This means that if you're not getting 4G LTE service, you cannot access the carrier's 3G service. And that's been the case with the past few tablets I've reviewed on Verizon. However, with the Sony Xperia Z2 Tablet, I was still able to access the carrier's 3G speeds, which was phenomenal. I know 3G is much slower than LTE, and we're used to LTE now, but if you're in an area Verizon coverage is kind of spotty, it's not consistent like I am right now, you get LTE speeds half the time, but the other half you have to rely on 3G. That's kind of critical to be able to access those bands. For example, there was a day this past week where my internet went completely out for about half the day. So I was able to plug this thing into the wall socket because it was low on battery, and I turned on the mobile hotspot and was able to get on the internet through this. And I was able to access the 3G speeds when I wasn't able to get the LTE speeds. And in that scenario, I really saw just how useful being able to access a 3G network is on a tablet like this. especially if you're going to be using it for a mobile hotspot in a rural area. Now, if you're in a big city where you have consistent LTE coverage, this probably isn't going to be that big of a deal to you. But for someone like me, if you're like me, you live in a kind of country, middle of nowhere, and you have LTE sometime, but a lot of the times you're still using that 3G data speeds, being able to have a tablet that can still access those bands is incredibly useful, and you factor in that big battery and that large area connectivity with both 3G and 4G LTE, this is probably one of the best tablets for you that you can buy right now that's going to be great for road trips, taking on the road, or just really going anywhere out of the house. With that big battery combined with that great network coverage of both 3G and 4G, you mix them and you mash them together and you're looking at one solid package for taking a tablet with you on the road. Now, in regard to the Xperia Z2 Tablet software, Sony really did a home run here and hit a home run with the software in the Z2 Tablet. The device comes out of the box with Android version 4.4.2 KitKat, but on top of that you have Sony's own custom Xperia skin layered over the stock Android software. Now, for me personally, if you've watched my videos in the past, you know that I really do love that stock vanilla Android experience. I'm usually not a big fan of custom OEM skins on top of that. However, I do have to make an exception with the skin Sony layered over the Xperia Z2 Tablet's software because it is really, really nice. The first big thing I noticed right away, which is actually a very small thing, is just how fluid everything is. The transitions, the animations on here between opening up an application, swiping through your home screens, navigating through your settings, or even the simplest act of transitioning between your application drawer and a home screen, the animations for those actions are so smooth and so fluid and so beautifully crafted and rendered that they just look phenomenal and really add a whole new layer to the Z2 Tablet's software. It's a very minor thing in the overall experience for the software, but on a day-to-day, a week-to-week, and a month-to-month basis, you really start to notice just how fine and beautiful these animations are, and it really adds that much more to the overall software on the Z2 Tablet. Another really cool thing about the Z2 Tablet software are the inclusion of Xperia themes. So with Sony's custom skin for the Android 4.4 KitKat platform, we saw the introduction of Xperia themes. If you have any familiarity with CyanogenMod themes or any themes for a custom Android ROM, you know that with those ROMs and with the feature, you can really customize and completely change the entire look and feel of your device. Well, Sony out of the box is kind of giving you some similar functionality with Xperia themes. You can download these from the Google Play Store and change them through the settings on the Xperia Z2 Tablet. But essentially, when you download a new Xperia theme, it'll change certain elements and color elements of the overall software. It will change certain appearances of the application drawer. It'll change your on-screen navigational buttons. It'll tweak your lock screen wallpaper and your home screen wallpaper, and will essentially give you a brand new feeling device and a different feeling device from what you previously had. Now, while these themes and these Xperia themes on the Z2 Tablet may not be quite as extensive as we see on something like CyanogenMod or Paranoid Android with those themes, it's still the first time we've really seen this layer of customization on an OEM skin right out of the box for Android. To get this kind of feature before, normally you'd have to root your device and flash a custom ROM. So being able to have that same type of functionality on a device right out of the box without having to do any flashing or rooting or whatever it may be is really cool. Again, it's not quite as extensive as you're going to find on something like CyanogenMod or Paranoid Android, but still having that feature out of the box, being able to essentially change every little aspect about your tablet is an incredible feature, and one that I know I had a lot of fun with. Now, the last thing I really liked about the Xperia Z2 Tablet software was Sony's approach to multitasking on here. So with that big 10-inch display, you probably want to do a lot of things. If you're watching a YouTube video, maybe you think of a calculation in your head, like what's pi times 5? Well, if you want to do that on the Xperia Z2 Tablet, you can run YouTube, hit your recent apps button, and select the calculator icon, and that will pop up this little windowed icon of a calculator, so you can resume watching your HD video on YouTube, Netflix, or on Twitter, wherever you may be. Whatever you're doing on the tablet, you can open up a calculator, a web browser, a timer, and a handful of other things, and have it layered right on top of the application you're currently using. Now, this is not the first time we've seen this on a OEM skin, but Sony has really fine-tuned this experience, and although it is limited to a handful of applications that can actually utilize this feature, it is done really well with the processing power in here it doesn't really affect the overall performance of the tablet. So you can have, say, a web browser open in a window, a calculator open in a window, and be watching House of Cards on your main application, and you really will not notice any instances of really downtime with the device. It still runs very smoothly, and Sony has really nailed it down with this. Again, you're not going to get that same functionality you're going to get on something like Samsung's multi-window, but being able to really truly multitask on a tablet is always very welcome. Stock Android itself really does not have a fine way of multitasking just yet. Hopefully that'll get better with the Android L update. So having this inclusion of these kind of windowed applications with the Sony's custom software really do make using the Z2 tablet and multitasking on it very, very nice. So by now, this part in the video, you're probably thinking to yourself that this is a pretty sweet tablet. It's got a great display, great build quality, it's waterproof, awesome software, pretty much awesome everywhere you look at it. So if you're thinking to yourself, why don't I just go out and buy one of these right now? While that is certainly a great move to make if you're looking for a new tablet, there is one kind of big downside to this thing, and that is with the price. With a brand new 2-year contract on Verizon Wireless, you can still look to pay $499 for this device. That is including that 2-year contract, so that's a subsidized price right there at $500. You want to get this thing unlocked with Verizon, you can look to pay $600, $599. And at those prices, it's kind of hard to recommend this if you're on a budget. If you have the money, I strongly recommend this tablet because it is without a doubt probably one of the best, if not the best tablet I've had the pleasure of reviewing here on MobileCupOfJoe. Probably one of the best tablets I have ever used so far in my young 16 years of life. But at that price of $600 unlocked or $500 with a 2-year contract, it is kind of hard to justify spending that type of money on what is essentially a really good but still a basic Android tablet. If you are not short on cash, if you have a spare $500 or $600 lying around, you want a new tablet, don't hesitate, go ahead and pick this thing up. It's a phenomenal tablet, you will not be disappointed whatsoever. However, if you are on a budget and you want to get a new 10-inch tablet, but you really don't want to spend a lot of money, I really can't justify this because you can get Android tablets to do essentially the same thing, because at the end of the day, this is a basic Android tablet, but one that does everything extremely, extremely well on it. You're not on a crunch for money. I highly, highly recommend you pick this thing up. It's just that if you are on a budget, you can do much better and get a tablet that does essentially the same thing. So guys, that about wraps it up for my review of the Sony Xperia Z2 Tablet. In case you want to check out kind of a blog post on Verizon Wireless Midwest website, I was recently on a conference with a couple of Verizon's PR people for the Midwest area and some of their other tech bloggers and reviewers as well. We had a guy from Android Headlines, Android Guys, and Gotta Be Mobile on there, and a few other people, and we just sat and chatted about the Sony Xperia Z2 tablet, talked about things we liked, things we didn't like, and just an assortment of things. You can't actually view that conference, but you can go ahead and check out a blog post Verizon published on their official Midwest website. I will put a link in the description below if you want to go ahead and check that out. They got a few quotes from me, and it's a really cool thing just to take a look and see what some of the reviewers here in the Midwest area do think of the Xperia Z2 tablet. If you have any further questions about this device, please go ahead and let me know down in those comments below. And if you like this video, please go ahead and click that like button. And if you really loved what you saw, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you want to stay in touch some more outside of these videos, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, where I am at MobileCupOfJoe. And that's about it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.